Creepy TikTok user tales. Someone sent me an email and in the subject line, it said the jewelry box. When I read the email, I was thinking, we have gone somewhere so opposite from where I thought that we were going. You should sit down. The person who sent me this does want to be anonymous. We're going to call her Jamie. Jamie told me that about 15 years ago, she was working the front desk at some sort of like an investment firm. She said that all of the clients were pretty normal, run-of-the-mill people, except for one guy. She said that this guy had the absolute best vibes, and he just seemed like he was from a different time. She said that he would dress like he was from the 1920s, and he just spoke a little differently than normal people, but she absolutely loved it. She said that he was tall, he had brown hair with some gray flecks in it, he had green eyes, and he looked to be about 45, maybe 50 years old. She told me that he would come in about once a month just to meet with her boss about investments, accounts, etc. When he would come in, he would actually come in a little early so that they could chit chat. And she really enjoyed talking to him. She didn't know what he did for work, but she knows that it entailed traveling or he really loved to travel because what they would talk about would be tales of his travels around the world. He had been everywhere. Jamie told me she was very young at the time, about 25, and she just didn't have a lot of money. Traveling was something that she wanted to do, but she just hadn't gotten around to it yet. So she always really enjoyed the conversations that she would have with this guy. And she said the way that he would talk about places and things that had happened in the past, it almost seemed like he was there and just recounting his memories. One day he came in for one of his regular meetings, and as he was leaving, he told her, "I'm going to be traveling, so you won't see me for a couple of months." She said that she wished him well and told him to be safe. A couple of months go by, and he calls on the phone to make an appointment to meet with her boss. He's going to come in the next week. When he comes in, she says that she recognizes him, and she recognizes his voice, except the man who is standing there looking at her, who she knows is this man, looks to be about 20 years younger than he was when he left. This 45 to 50-year-old man was standing there looking at her, and they looked like they were the same age, about 25. She said that she didn't want to be rude and say anything because maybe the reason that he had left the country was to have some work done, and she remembers thinking, I don't know who did that, but they did a really good job. She said that they talked for a little bit, he goes back, he meets with her boss, he comes back out. As he walks out, she asks him, "Do you want to schedule your next meeting?" And he says no. She said that he stopped and he looked at her very intensely and he said, "I have something for you." He walks outside, walks back in, he's holding a black bag. He puts it down on her desk. She says that she opens it and she looks inside and it is this beautiful, ornate jewelry box. She said it was unlike anything that she had ever seen and it was absolutely beautiful. She said she looks at him and she's smiling and she says, "What is this?" And he says, "Just a little souvenir." She comes around the desk, she hugs him, she thanks him, and once again asks him, like, "I'm going to see you next month for your consultation, right?" He looks at her and he says, "No, you won't." He goes to leave, he walks to the door, he opens it, he looks back at her and says one last thing. "The box will give you whatever you need. May you find happiness." He walks out the door and he's gone. She says that she never sees this man again. That day she takes the jewelry box home and she sits it on the mantle in her crappy, cheap apartment. Those are her words, not mine. A roof is a roof. Up until this point, she hadn't opened the box yet, so as it's sitting there on the mantle, she flips it open and she says that this wind rushes through her apartment. She said it seems like it's actually bouncing off of every wall trying to find a way out, but can't. She shuts the box and the wind stops. She knows that her apartment is old, so she just attributes it to some sort of a draft. At the time in this apartment, she's living with a guy who she had been dating for about 5 years. Up until this point, she told me that she was perfectly content with their simple life, but she said that she sat down on the couch that day and she was staring at this box and just completely focused on it in the silence and immediately started looking around and hating everything about her life. Every wall in her apartment, the furniture, the doors, just everything made her She just had a feeling of being discontent. Also, after she brings the box home, she says that weird things start to happen in her apartment. There will be tapping on the walls, bangs and booms, but she just kind of thinks it's the neighbors. And other weird stuff started to happen where her personal things would go missing and turn up in very odd places. She said the weirdest thing that happened was that she woke up one morning and all of the contents from the refrigerator were in the cabinets and all of the dishes were in the refrigerator. The box has only been in her apartment for about 2 weeks at this point. She said that one day she was home from work and she was sitting on the floor of her apartment folding laundry, and the guy that she was dating at the time was at work, so she was by herself. And she said that once again that feeling of just being discontent just came over her. She said that she got up and she was just pacing the apartment and she was bouncing off the walls, bouncing off the glass door. She said that she felt like a caged bird that just needed to run. She just knew that where she was not where she was supposed to be. Run was exactly what she did. She told me she packed a suitcase, she left her furniture, she left most of her clothes, and she took off. She called the guy that she was dating at the time, told him that she would continue to pay her half of the rent on the apartment until the lease ended. He could keep all the furniture. She just needed to get out. The small amount of clothes and some of the things that she packed that day, she also took the jewelry box with her. She told me that she moved back in with her parents and she was perfectly content with that. Sleeping in her childhood bedroom at 25 years old, she did not care. She was happy. And she said she didn't even realize that she was unhappy until she was actually happy. And she said the feeling that she got wasn't that she didn't care about this man. She cared about him very much, but the feeling that she got was if she stayed, she would stay and he would stay, and they would never have anything. It would be the same forever for both of them. And she said she just needed to get out. She's living at home and she's waiting for that lease where the guy she was dating is living because she can't pay rent on 2 apartments, obviously. She's living out of a suitcase and she has her little jewelry box that was gifted to her by this man sitting on her dresser. She told me very honestly that up until that point, she had not made the best life choices. She said she had never done anything wrong or like hurt anybody, but she just knows like she wasn't living to her full potential and she hadn't accepted that until that moment. She said that she was completely fine with mediocrity up until she brought that box home. And a drive like took over her unlike anything she's ever experienced before. She told me she takes some time to work on herself. She gets an education, she gets a new job, she gets a house, she gets a nice new car. Everything is just going so well. She meets someone, they end up getting married, they have children. She says it's almost like with every passing moment, she just gets happier and happier and happier. So all of that happened over a span of about 15 years. Her parents call her one day. They say they are downsizing. They're going to sell their house and they've boxed up some of her small things. Did she want any of it or was she okay with donating it? And they sent her a picture. In the box was the jewelry box that this man had gifted her. And she said, donate everything, but I'd really like to keep the jewelry box. Well, there was some miscommunication and unfortunately the jewelry box does get donated. She told me that she went to the thrift store to search for this jewelry box. She asked the people who work there, have you seen this box? They said no. She scoured every shelf seeing if the box was there, but it was gone. She said she just kind of accepted that the box was gone and she was never going to see it again. She told me that the one thing about this box was that it had its own personality. She told me she knows that that sounds crazy, but there's no better way for her to describe it. She said that like a couple months go by and her husband decide that they're going to organize their attic because that's what you do in your mid-30s. Good luck to you. She says that she's in the attic and way back in the back of the attic are the Christmas decorations and she decides like I need to go through those. She walks over and sitting right there on top of one of the totes that's filled with Christmas ornaments is the jewelry box. She asked her husband if he had put it there, if he had ever seen it before. He said no, he did not. She called her parents, asked them if they had dropped it off. They said no, they did not. She asked her mom, did you donate it? Her mom says, I am pretty sure that I did, but perhaps I was mistaken, but I didn't bring it to your house. She said she picks the box up, she walks downstairs almost like she's in a daze. She sits it on her dresser and she opens it up. She said there's no wind, nothing swishes, but she looks inside the box and she says that she sees a little note that she had never seen before. She opens up the piece of paper and on it, it says, the box will give you whatever you need. Dated June 3rd, 1924. She says that she closes the box, she sits down on her bed and she stares at it, waiting for that feeling of discontent to come over her, but it never does. She said that the box felt at peace and she was also at peace. She said that to this day, that box just sits on her dresser. Her kids love playing with it. And she says that this seems to actually make the box happy. She told me that she knows that that sounds crazy, but whatever. She told me that she has looked for the man who gifted her the box, but they only had this professional working relationship. She knew his first and last name. She didn't know his family, if he had any siblings. She says that she has scoured social media and has never found anything. She told me that she actually ran into her old boss a few years ago and she actually asked him about this man and was like, do you remember him? And her boss said, I have no idea who you are talking about. She described his physical appearance. She described the way he spoke, how he dressed. He used to come in like every month for a year and a half. Her boss was blank. He was like, I do not know that man. She said that she knows that it sounds wild for her to attribute the amazing life that she has to this box. And she says she doesn't fully. She just attributes it to giving her a little push in a different direction. And she said at first when she was younger and she heard the box will give you whatever you need, immediately she just went to stuff. But as time has gone on, she realizes that the box will give her whatever she needs as far as discernment. She says to do with that what you will. She told me that she has researched this box trying to figure out where it comes from or if there's any legends, lore, myths, whatever around it. So she can't find anything. The only thing that she's maybe been able to find is that it is possibly Egyptian just by looking at the carvings that are on it. But she also will admit, honestly, that she is not into antiquities, so she could very well be completely wrong. And while she says that there is an energy around the box, she says that it is not evil and it doesn't scare her. It just has its own little quirks and personalities. For a while, she thought maybe it's just a haunted object, but she says that it just feels like it's deeper than that, like it's more than that. She's happy. The box is happy. Everybody's happy. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Keep sending me your unexplainable stories because I love reading them. As always, thank you guys so much and have a wonderful day.